What's up, everyone? It's your boy Dikokan Talks, and today we're going to be looking on a controversial topic I came across today, and it has to do with the medieval era. And we all knew how things were during that time. It wasn't funny, honestly. So, the medieval era, which began in the 5th century and lasted up until the 15th century, which, if you are going to use the old timing period scheme, 400 AD down to 1400 AD. AD is Anno Domini, which is Latin for in the year of the Lord. And the opposite equivalent of that is BC, which is before Christ. So if you are talking about the timing period before the year 1 AD, that is 1 BC. That's the exact one we're talking about. But if you're using the new timing period scheme, which is CE and BCE, which respectively mean Common Era and before the Common Era, that is going to reflect as 400 CE down to the year 1400 CE. The medieval era, which began as a result of the fall of the Western Roman Empire, encompassed a lot of very peculiar events and moments that really I wouldn't even want my own enemy to live through. Seriously. And I came across three scenarios that, honestly speaking, it can really give one goosebumps. The first of the scenarios being a medieval pandemic, specifically the Black Death. We all know what happened during that time. It wasn't funny. The Black Death, which began, or should I say, happened during the 14th century, took the lives of approximately 75 to 200 million peoples. Now we know for something to be that deadly and take the lives of those much people, it's not really something to joke about, honestly speaking. It was really deadly, and it caused a range of symptoms for the victims, such as blisters that were black in color, hence its name, the Black Death, fevers, fatigue, all sorts of horrible things occurred to the victims, and I really feel for them, honestly speaking. They went through a lot, honestly. It's not a good experience at all, honestly speaking. And I really hope and pray that us too in this modern era are able to really curtail the outbreak of all these diseases, because it is not by our power that these diseases are contained, but it's by the power of God. It's not by our power. So I really pray and hope that we're able to contain them, because frankly speaking, the medieval era, especially during the time of the Black Death, was not funny. People really found it difficult to live, and life was hard. The second scenario I came across is, you know, a scenario that most people would actually want to live through, but because they don't really know the factual details that has to do with it, is exactly why they have interest in. This has to do with the medieval battlefield, and we all know that when we say the battlefield, it's really chaotic. Honestly speaking, like you can have swords, daggers, lancers flying all around. Honestly speaking, and all sorts of noises will be heard, like the screams and shouts of various men on the battlefield, the stomps, and the you know barrage of horses coming through the field. And if you were in India then, at times you would even hear the stomps of elephants. It was that serious. And we all know, like, battles, for example, like Battle of Agincourt, which occurred in the year 1415, and then the Battle of Crecy, which occurred in the year 1346. These battles were equally chaotic on their own, and so many other battles of the time. They were chaotic and they weren't funny, honestly speaking. I mean, I know we've all heard of the Hundred Years' War, a literal war that lasted 100 years, honestly. And it was a back and forth between Britain and France and other various powers that existed within Europe at the time. So it really wasn't a funny period to live in, and it wasn't a nice period either to be in, honestly speaking. And then we have the last scenario I came across, which was, the issue of the medieval dungeon or torture chamber. You know, we already have phobia for being in the toilet for long. Like, it's something we wouldn't even want to like fathom. Being in the toilet is something that most people are even afraid to even like come to terms with. So some at times they even just go they answer the call of nature in the wilderness. They don't even like entering toilets at times. So picture that toilet framework in your head, but worse. You have literal areas covered in cobwebs and all sorts of insects and remnants of human beings that passed away from previous torture and the rest. It's not funny. Like, seriously, if you were caught and you were sent to a medieval dungeon or torture chamber, I really hope you if I don't hope you survive, because if you survive, it's not going to be a nice experience. But actually, there were some people who survived, and they made it alive. They made it alive. They didn't really get so much injuries like that. But the point I'm trying to make here is, there are some scenarios that if one was to survive it, he would actually prefer death. There were scenarios that death is actually more better to go through than to survive it, honestly speaking. And back then, the medieval dungeon and torture chamber, sometimes victims didn't even survive it. People who were caught, they didn't survive it. It was that bad. Like, seriously, it was really that bad. So, honestly speaking, even for my own enemy, these three scenarios are scenarios I really wouldn't want them to go through. Like, seriously, these scenarios were deadly, honestly speaking. And no, I thank God that, honestly speaking, we've gone far in human development. Honestly speaking, our technological advancement has gone far, and chances of us ever going back to such an archaic state like how it was in the past is very rare. It may still happen. We have the threat of World War III coming up and nuclear weapons, as well as MAD, mutual assured destruction. We have all these topics flying around and here and there. So we really don't know if we might end up plunging ourselves back to the dark ages, but I hope we don't. I hope we don't. So yeah, that's my own topic, and that's what I have to say on it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, if you really want to explore more about my channel, this is not my original channel. I do have another channel. If you want to explore more on that, the link is in the description below. And yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Have a nice day.